Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the North East Non-League Show, sponsored by DJ Private Hire, Gateway Accountancy Services Limited, Elite Goalkeeper Academy, and Motivate. Tonight is episode 70 with our Bishop Auckland special tonight with Bishop programme writer Gav Hadden. Gav, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Oh, someone's saying there already, Stephen Sanders Hadden out.
Yeah, there's a surprise. There'll be worse coming my way. I hope we've not got explicit. Oh, there we go. There we go. It started.
Champions.
Probably best to ignore some of them that come on, but never mind.
But we start before we chat. Obviously, Bishop Auckland tonight. Just get to know our guests. What's your role in the club, and how long have you been involved with the club as well?
So I've followed Bishop now for going on 31 years, I think now. I started watching them at the old Kingsway ground when they were in the Northern Premier League the first time around. I think it was my dad who took us to my first couple of games. So it was about, I think, 92 season, 92, 93. And I remember sitting at the back of the old stand at Kingsway, freezing cold for the first couple of games. And then kind of just hooked after that. And obviously I've watched them ever since. I'm Bishop Auckland lad. Although I moved away from Bishop about 3-4 years ago, so I live in Sedgefield now. But still easy, obviously, to get the games home and away. And then I would probably say the last 10 years, I've sort of got more involved, like in a volunteer role, just to help on certain aspects. I got involved with the supporters club around about 10 years ago. Sort of the latest guise of the official supporters club that was set up 10 years ago. I have the secretary role within the supporters club. I really enjoy it. And then I also got involved about 4 years ago to do the match day program editing. I think I was approached just to help out initially. So that was 5 years ago. I've just carried on doing it. It's something I don't mind doing. It's actually something I quite enjoy, actually. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Oh, excellent. Like I say, we're going to be chatting about the programmes a bit later as well. But on to Bishop Auckland, I mean, last season the playoff heartache, like you say, you've been involved for so long, and to get that game against Ashton after playing obviously 38 games, it's a long slog. How did you feel after that game at the final, the full-time whistle?
To be honest, it might sound a bit weird, but it didn't actually feel that bad, because we were always, I know we were top of the league for a while last season, or quite a good chunk, but in a way it always felt we were behind the 8 ball, because you had Ashington, who was strong. They had a lot of games to catch up on us. Obviously, eventually did that. And then you had Aycliffe pretty much since, I think they beat us on Boxing Day when we were 2-0 up at half time, came back, beat us 3-2. What was the day after Boxing Day, I think. And they never looked back after that, so they were strong from that point on. We had a bit of patchy form. So going into the sort of the last 2-3 months of the season, we were a bit behind the 8 ball. And I always said, my gut feeling was always we'd just fall short last year. Even though we had obviously plenty of quality in the team, I just thought, well, maybe a little bit naive at times last year. Didn't have that killing instinct in some games, and then Aycliffe had that. Ashington was strong, so even going into that last game, I know all we needed was a win to get into the playoffs, but it kind of felt like I think Ashington were always just going to pip us. So it was a bit. I know everyone. I remember at the end of the game, it wasn't a bad atmosphere up in the bar. A lot of the supporters sort of stayed behind and had a bit of crack with the manager of the team, all looking forward really to this season, knowing that we'd be stronger, I think, which is shown. So it didn't feel super sort of, deflating. It would have been great. It would have been great to get in the playoffs and then potentially go, but it just felt like it wasn't quite to be last season, even though it went down to that last game to get into the playoffs. So yeah, it was, it was a rare good season for us. Sort of the last maybe 20 years now. I mean, we've had a lot of mediocre seasons, below mediocre seasons. So that one bright season was kind of, you got the feeling it was going to lead into something else, which is what's shown this season. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think as well, if we look at some sides, we look at Stockton, obviously, in playoffs and heartaches and penalty shootouts for a lot of clubs that season and stuff like that. And it's quite interesting because I think I've been involved in them situations after that game. It hurts, but as a manager, as a player, sometimes you've got to bottle up and say, right, it hurts now. We're not going to repeat that next season. And I can imagine that's what the management and the players have kind of said, right, we've had that hurt now. We change that into what the season's played out at the moment. I think that a lot of managers and players that work on that, don't they?
Yeah, I think that was probably the thinking. A lot of people at the club as well wasn't quite to be last year, but maybe this was always going to be the second full season of Chris Hardy's sort of tenure was really going to be the one where the team absolutely clicked and didn't look back, and hopefully that's how this season's going to end up. So yeah,
really good. And as a fan, I mean, what was your hopes going into the season with the couple of signs over the summer as well?
I mean, you fully expected us with the players that we brought in last season, and then we'd let obviously a few go over the summer. But I think from the players that we then signed leading into this year, the squad looked even stronger than last year. You could see with the likes of Rio May, who came in in the summer. I mean, he's sort of, you've got him and Craig Gott who can, I mean, they just, they can run games on their own. They're both capable of playing 2-3 leagues above. So with signings like him, you thought, well, we're going to be stronger this year. So, I fully expected us to be up there. And yeah, we're sitting pretty at the moment. So yeah, it was always the hopes.
Doing really well, but I think it's always the same. The doubt, isn't it? You always see these fans on obviously the non-league zone and putting comments out. I think the first two games, the 2-2 draw against Crook, the one against Red Star, and even after 2 games, when you can see some comments in the bottle, it's like 2 games into the season. But after them games, like you say, 6 straight wins in all competitions. Until the South Shields FA Cup loss, like you say, 11 unbeaten in all competitions. I mean, after obviously even the 2 draws at the start of the season, you haven't lost. It was a great run to start the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I took in a couple of pre-season games, and then I think I saw a couple of the video highlights, and the signs were there in pre-season that we were going to be a much stronger unit. And then obviously the first couple of games didn't really click. But I mean, at the end of the day, we didn't lose any of them first 2 games. So if you play badly, and you're still waiting for certain players to gel as a unit, and you can get away with sort of 2 draws. It's not the end of the world, is it, after 2 games? And I mean, like you say, some people sort of, as they tend to do now, go overboard and, these couple of players are brought in and an upgrade on the players that have left. And I'm thinking, that time you 2 games in, the quality will show. Like people like I said earlier, like Rio May, Liam Henson up front, when he's had his chance, he showed that he's is the real deal. So yeah, you can't look into the first couple of games at all. And then after that, I think we ground out. We won in the FA Cup. I think it was against Bridlington at home. I think played really well. Beat them 3-0. They were in the league higher than us. So the signs were there. Going at that game, that when we click, I think we'd be a force to be reckoned with. And we've never really looked back, to be honest. I know you mentioned that Shields game there, didn't you, in the FA Cup? I mean, last year, I think we played Whitby in one of the early FA qualifying rounds, and they, although they didn't play us off the park as such, they were very, very clinical. And I think they beat us 5-0.
Yeah.
So if that was last season against Shields, it could have been a similar scoreline, but we went sort of tooth and nail with them for 80 minutes. They got a couple of goals right at the end of the game. I mean, they might have been obviously not left a couple of players out. They might not have been at their strongest, but still, to go away to a side such as Shields, I think at the time they were near the top of the Conference North. And so we didn't look out of place. In fact, probably in the first half, we looked the better side. We looked the more composed side. So the signs were there that early in the season that this was an upgrade on last season's Bishop team.
Yeah, like you say, massive. You take a lot of pride from the game as well against South Shields, and into the Vars as well. I mean, obviously that's huge now for non-league clubs, and some top wins up until the 3rd round, lost to Blythe. And I imagine we've been good at that time. Obviously, if you do get promoted, that could be the last chance to try and get at it. But to great side, Blythe, like you say, the amount of players that they've brought in, some of the quality
Outside.
players that have brought in from high up the leagues. And it was a cracking game. And I mean, were you disappointed that it didn't go obviously a bit further in the Vars and Pod Cup the last time for the club?
Well, that was a weird game as well. That Blythe game was. I think we had enough chances to probably win 3 games. But it was one of those games where it just wasn't meant to be. And I think I just sat down and I didn't even see the first goal. It happened that early. It was a back pass from one of our defenders that caught our keeper out and rolled in the net. Then we got ourselves back in the game. It was one-way traffic second half, chance after chance. Funnily enough, I remember that game. I actually had to leave. I knew I was going to have to leave 10 minutes before it finished. So I was hoping we'd have that game won. I had to zip off in the car because me and the wife had some tickets booked for a show in Newcastle. So I literally had to sort of zip off around about 20 to 5-ish, or she wouldn't have been happy. So I missed the penalty shootout. So I remember when I pulled up outside our house, I checked Twitter straight away, seeing we'd gone out on penalties, and it was like, if we didn't kill that game off after 90 minutes, you knew what was coming. We were going to get dumped out on penalties, and that's what happened. But I look at it as a different way, to be honest. I looked at it as soon as we were out, it was sort of like there's no distractions whatsoever now. Power on, cement your place at the top of the league, which is what we've done. Great if you get to Wembley, fantastic. But there's always the FA trophies, and if we go up next season, a lot harder. But we have a half decent history in the trophy from when we used to be in the Northern Prem 20, 30 years ago. We got to the quarters a couple of times. I know it's harder these days with the sides that are in the conference now, but they're the sort of challenge you've got to set yourself. Thing like the FA Vars, it's just a one-off game, isn't it? And you can be out. You can't set your season on getting to the final of the FA Vars. I know the players would love to. Obviously, being a player, you'd love to play at Wembley, and people would love to see the team play at Wembley. But at the end of the day, now that went, and it's all about the league, as it should be. That should be a bread and butter. Certainly as a supporter, come from my point of view, if it was offered to me, like, do you want to get to the FA Vars final at Wembley and win it or whatever, or go up, wouldn't have to think twice about it. It's progressing the club back up to a high standard. So yeah, that's the way I looked at it.
That's it. And hopefully, like you say, success come the end of the season as well. And before we get to Chris Hardy, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's watching as always. Keep getting your comments in as well. Really appreciate them. Please hit that subscribe button. Please get across to all social medias for Bishop Auckland. Please like, subscribe, and we just smashed the 1,000 as well through the week as well. That was really good. And also on Twitter, get them followed. And like you said, all helps the clubs in the North East non-league scene. So please help as much as you can as well. Another Chris Hardy, like I say, a fantastic manager. One really like, great squad. As a fan, who's been your standout player so far this season from Hardy squad?
There's been a few. I would start off Ryan Catrick, the keeper. He came in halfway through last season, I think, made the position his own. I remember seeing him play for, I think it was Gisborough, a couple of times before, or maybe 4 or 5 years back, and I always thought he just make many mistakes. His handling was always good. He was always assured. I thought really solid keeper. And then when you see him in the flesh at Bishop's, he has so much more to his game. He dictates plays like as an extra defender, like a sweeper. He's so confident on the ball. He starts moves off. He makes saves. He's made some superb saves. Him, without a doubt. I think he's been caught out maybe once or twice, which is inevitable. When the management team obviously want him to play the role he's playing. And I've always said I think it's important that supporters don't get on his back if he makes 1 or 2 mistakes, because that's only going to cloud his judgment and his thinking. It's the way he plays. It's the way the management team wants him to play. So let him get on with it. He's going to make the odd mistake, but he'll earn us a lot more points than he loses us. Like say, starting off moves, being that sort of extra defender that brings the ball out, releases passes. He's as good as his values with his feet are as good as they are with his shot stopping, which are pretty good anyway. So yeah, him. Dane Burley's right back. He was excellent last season. He's got a hell of a right foot. I've never seen a player who can just whip the ball in on a, sort of sixpence without thinking about it. And he's barely had a bad game this season. Then, like I mentioned before, you've got Rio May, who's come in, sort of started as a centre-back, I think, at the beginning of the season, moved into a midfield role now, which shows his versatility, and he looks, a couple of levels above. Craig Gott, he was brilliant last season. He's been pretty reliable again this season. When he's, I know he had a bit of an injury, and then the likes of Louis Johnson. Obviously, I know you're a big fan of Louis Johnson. Didn't you pick him out before the start of the season? There's one to watch.
Him and Black too.
So he's just seems to be like a man possessed sometimes. He's so sharp, and his finishing's not too bad either. I think he's got over 20 goals in this season.
And that's with injury as well, isn't it? That's the thing as well. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then another a local lad who was impressed, Dean Thexton, who he came back to the club last season. There's no doubt he knows where the net is. But I think what's good about him as well, I must admit, I didn't realise he was such a good hold-up player as well. And he links the player brilliantly at times. He's got a good first touch. And like I say, he knows where the net is, and he's our leading scorer now. I think he's ahead of Louis Johnson even. So yeah, they're the main standout players. But I mean, everyone else has contributed. You've got Marcus Giles, he's got his fair share of goals. The other forward, Henderson, who's sort of been in and out of the side. He had a run of games where he was scoring for fun. So yeah, I think you pretty much include everyone, to be honest. John Howard, I didn't know a lot about, midfielder he's looked the real deal in centre mid when he's played again. He's had a bit of an injury. Yeah, pretty much going through the whole team here, aren't I? Daniel Lear, centre back.
Doing well, haven't they?
Daniel Lear, one of the most sort of front-footed, aggressive centre backs you can have. So yeah, it's too many to mention. Really, I can go through the whole team. They've all been brilliant this season. They all complement each other.
I just mentioned there Lewis Johnson being unreal, and Steve as well. Suit Lewis Johnson, Bishop the Ball being impressive, John Cooper there as well. Not so
the mascot, is
it? And I imagine this season, obviously, with the games, Bishop not too bad, but some games are on the off, and like you say, the weather that we've had. I imagine this season's been more than hard to get the programs ready, and being games called off, games getting moved, games getting put in last minute as well. You're getting all the programs ready for them games. How's it been like this season for yourself, getting them ready?
It's been all right for me because we've not had a game called off. We've not had a home game called off. No, I don't think that we might have had one maybe called off. So for me, it's been fine. Pretty much, unless the weather's absolutely, dreadful, like, got a hard frost or heavy snow, that's, there's a risk the game's going to be off then. But luckily, we've not had many frosts or heavy snow, and our pitch has coped really well with the rain. So yeah, from my point of view, it's been business as usual. As there's not been a lot of sort of tinkering about. In previous seasons, I have, and you kind of just always create a template, maybe at the start of the week, for that particular game. So you've got that template for whoever you're playing, and then if it gets postponed, at least you've got sort of all the raw material that goes into that, and you can come back to that whenever the game's on, then just update it and add bits. So that's the way I've always sort of worked it, which saves a bit of time. So yeah, but like I say, this season there's luckily for me being a Bishop fan, there's not been a lot of disruption from that point of view. I can imagine it's been a nightmare for the programme editors with teams having games called off left, right, and centre. So yeah, they'll have a lot of work to do now when they're getting home games scheduled back to back. I don't envy them, to be honest. It's kind of, for me, it's been steady away, every couple of weeks getting a programme ready. So it's always more time consuming right at the start of the season when you like to sort of introduce a bit of a new look to the programme when you know what I mean. You sort of develop that, and then, but once you get that right, it's then a case of just adding to stuff and sort of, you know what I mean. I would say a game takes me maybe a couple of hours of my spare time. in the middle of the season, which isn't too bad. It's it's no hardship really.
It's nice to see. I think first as well, the program's still getting made. I know you've got some clubs, maybe just the hub around the corner. You go down, no program, it's all digital. You've got to read online, but it's still nice to see the programs. I think it's just a touch of the Northern League, isn't it? You go there, you pay your money, you get a program, you put a football card, and it's just something that you like doing, isn't it?
I think. Yeah, I mean, I can understand, clubs where on a personnel volunteer level, if they don't want to go down the route of producing a hard copy or what have you, or if they want to, I don't know whether I don't think you can get away with just producing a sort of a team sheet now. Isn't it a requirement you have to have a program now? But are you talking about? Are you talking about? Yeah, but were you talking about there's still a program, but it's digital, so people go online and sort of read it, which has happened. It happened, I think, during COVID. We were putting ours online, sort of digital version during COVID. But I know you can't not produce a program, can you? At the Northern League, you've got. I think it's a requirement where you've got to. So everyone, which is still time for clubs who don't have many volunteers. You know what I mean? So you could sort of then look at it. Should you have to produce a program? Because some clubs are, they're barely able to work from match day to match day with enough volunteers, so I can sort of see that other side of things. But it is nice, it is nice for people to have a program to read, whether it's a hard copy or digital. It's it's sort of the old traditions, isn't it, going to football?
That's brilliant, man. I mean, did you have a love or collection of programs to start doing this? I know, my son's just been in football now about the last 4 years, and his pile of programs is unbelievable. In his bedroom at the moment, he just loves to get them out every now and again. He's having to read through them. I mean, was it the same for yourself?
Yeah, it's funny you mention it, really. Because I started getting the programs from when I started watching Bish in the early 90s. Just get a program every game, and I'd keep them all. And it's probably only up until actually it's probably actually only up until when I've been doing them myself, because I know what's in them. I don't buy them now because I know, I'm producing them. I don't buy them because I know what's going in. So I haven't really collected any now for the past 4 or 5 years. But probably up until that point, I was still collecting them. And funnily enough, I've just taken my whole collection, and not just Bishop. There was a few Everton ones in there, a few England programs, a couple of other random ones, along with hundreds of Bishop ones, say from the early 90s onwards. And I took them down to the Bishop. Do you know the Bishop Museum shop in the marketplace?
Oh, yes.
So I took them there. We're having a garage clear out last week, and they're in 2 boxes still. So I've literally just taken all of mine and donated them to the Bishop Museum shop. So if anyone wants to go in and have a look at them, they're welcome to. There's some good ones in there. So yeah, I remember when I was younger, when I'd have the time to do it, I'd look back at old programs. I found it quite interesting. But I wouldn't get the time to do that now anyway. So it was about the right time to get rid of mine. So yeah.
Really good. I think one of them, and I'd love to see something happen somewhere in the Northern League next season, is I know my son, I think it was last season, the Newcastle programs he was getting, in the old-fashioned big headed little bodies, that figures that you used to get, and they did every single program, every single week.
Oh, right.
Player on, but as designed in a big head little body, it was fantastic. And the
kids
loving them. But the collections were fantastic. I mean, a couple of Facebook groups I'm in with still repainting little big heads and little bodies, and I think I put a few pictures in to see all of what Newcastle's doing this season, and it was just like, wow. And there was people saying, "Oh, can we order this? Can we order one?" Just because the love of the kind of the collection of the little football figures. But I think that would be really good if came in that level. That was fantastic. I think that would be a good idea. Really. I
mean, what's
I can imagine there's loads of people ask as well.
So what's the just out of interest? What's the sort of cost now of programs of professional games? And I bet you're talking about what, £3-4 now.
350, yeah, 350. Yeah. As you say, most of the stuff it's the same page. I say you've got to keep there for the fixtures, the scores, the results, that type of thing.
Yeah,
and I think
I know they obviously
sponsorship at that level.
Yeah,
it's all of it.
Yeah, and they're obviously professionally produced, aren't they? So they like glossy magazines, aren't they? So I mean, yeah, they're probably worth paying £3-4 for. I mean, ours are priced, I think, £150, and I think that's a fair price for for the sort of what we produce as a club. I wouldn't say it's the most advanced looking, match day program. But for me, it's always a case of it's got the vitals in there. There's a few features in there. There's sort of, comments from myself, the manager or chairman every game, squad list, opposition profile, stats and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It does the job. And that's what I've always said. I've said, as long as I'm sort of able to do a job to a decent standard, and it's worth 150. You know what I mean? And it's sort of, if I wasn't doing it, it might fall down to one of the other, someone on the committee doing it, or directors, and they need their own time to sort of do things within the club. So that's the way I've always looked at it. It's helping out or taking the workload off someone else, and that's sort of the main reason for doing it, really. And I don't, I enjoy it. I don't mind doing it. It's no major hardship.
No, fantastic. Like you say, helping massively. Before we get on the rest of the season, I must mention, obviously, Stephen. I know he's been on, it's probably about a year ago now, I think, but his love for the club and the Facebook page is amazing. It never stops the updates. I mean, that was just last night with all the schools on the pitch, and he's putting on there the memories that he's doing with every week, and the car boot sale, and just the upgrades of the ground. Everything is just onto the Facebook page, which I love to see as a lover of non-league football, is to see clubs keeping things fresh, keeping social media fresh, and the love the club Steve has is just absolutely amazing. It must be nice to have someone like that above everyone that's looking for volunteers, that's helping out the club. When you see someone like Steve and the hard work he puts in, it kind of grows in everyone else, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's very passionate and hands-on as a chairman. I think he's got a lot of contacts within the town, and from him playing football, I think from pretty much throughout his life and being involved in local football, he brings that with him. And I think he had a tough couple of years, I think on the pitch and off the pitch. But now I think everything's sort of fallen in place. The club's really thriving now, and that's due to his hard work and persistence, and the other directors that are working with him. But yeah, no, Steve's fantastic. I think I think everyone appreciates him, and I think his passion and his enthusiasm and drive just is something you can, I imagine a lot of people are sort of looking at him and thinking, how have you got this drive still? And the amount of hours he puts in, and he's got his own business still, and he's got a large family as well. So it's I think he's been brilliant for Bishop. You might even be listening, now. So I'll stop giving them the compliments there. But we've had, all of our chairmen. I mean, all of our chairmen we've had. I can't say a bad word about them. They've all sort of had two blue blood running through the veins. Whether they've been supporters previously and then stepped up to chairman. Some have had tougher jobs than others. But they've all taken the fair amount of stick, I think, at times, but they've always, worn the heart on the sleeves and had the club's best interests at the heart. So, I think,
fantastic job.
It's not a job I envy.
Oh, it's definitely not. And on the rest of the season coming up in 2024, it's been a fantastic so far. January unbeaten, February unbeaten, Saturday 4-0 win against North Shield as well. You must be really confident now going to that final part of the season that the job's not done, but it's looking good, isn't it?
It feels like it's sort of from an early stage for me. It felt like it was meant to be where we were going to go on, achieve top spot. And once we did that, we weren't going to let it slip. And that's the way hopefully it's going to pan out. And that's the way it's looking. Mind you, as people keep reminding me, it only takes one defeat. Shieldon keep on winning. That's the gap's down to 3 points, believe it or not. And we've only lost one game all season. I think they've scored as many goals as well. Shieldon, I think something like 90. I think we both scored 97 goals. I mean, that's crazy. With 10 or 11 games left, both of us have scored 97 goals as in Shieldon. Mad. So they're not going away. Shieldon. We've got them bank holiday Monday. So that'll be a cracking game. I reckon it'll still be to play for then. I don't think it'll be done and dusted for us by then. I think I reckon we might have we might have one or two small little bumps along the road from now to the end of the season. But I'm as confident I think as you can be that we'll stay top this season. I think we've just got too much quality in the team. I think we can when we click we can blow away teams as being shown. I think there's only Heat and Stanek who beat us at their place back in September. That's our only defeat in the league all season. And Heat and Stanek are a decent side. I know we beat them recently at home, but they showed when they played us at their place that they're a very well organised side, well drilled side. But yeah, it's going to be out of us and Children. So yeah, bank all the money. It'd be nice to win it that day, wouldn't it? If we can pull clear and then beat them that game with 3 or 4 games to play, that'll be nice.
Yeah. I know I was obviously playing a charity game on Sunday with 2 of the Children coaches on my side. Actually, so I had a bit chat about it all. And I mean, you look at the strikers that they've got as well. It's not just got 1 or 2 to rely on. They've got, I think, 4 or 5 that just bang goals in fun.
Yeah.
Same as Johnson, same as Fexon, always just guaranteed goals. Top players. But as you say, there's 10 games left, and it's almost like 10 cup finals out. I mean, looking at some of the fixtures, no offence to like RCA, Tower Law, who's sitting there on 6 points, but you expect the wins there. But you look at the games, the tough ones, possibly like Rex and Redcar, who's just picked a win last night, Wickham, Crook, Carlisle, and obviously that big game against Shill. I mean, what's your thoughts kind of on them 10? Do you take one at a time, or do you kind of look at them and say, we should beat them, maybe pick up a point there?
Oh, I think, like you said, no disrespect to a couple of teams there, but like you say, Sunderland, RCA, Tower Law, they have been, they've been the whipping boys, haven't they, this season? Make no bones about them. We've got them to play. So you'd like to think we're not going to drop any points there. You'd like to think. I think we've got Benfield away as well. But that would normally be, I think, Benfield away. That's a potential banana skin, but I don't think they're as strong as they have been in recent seasons. And then we've got Children at home. Redcar away. Yeah, that's a tough one. Certainly with the players they've brought in. If you probably look at both sides' fixtures on paper, I know obviously football's not played on paper. Children have got the harder looking running without a doubt. I think someone said to me the other day, I think have they got Berkeley twice and they've got Heat and Stan twice to play, as well as us. So they, if they drop any points, their margin for if we keep winning is obviously, well, they haven't got a margin for if we keep winning, but you know what I mean. Even if we lose a couple of games, they can't afford any margin for. So it's all in our hands. I mean, we couldn't really ask to be in a much better position going into these 10 games or so.
Yeah, and same as mentioned there, 4 home, 6 away. Sometimes it's just, I think when you play away from home, the pressure seems to be up a little bit as well. I think Bishop going towards the end of the season as well. And hopefully, like you say, promotion, which would be the next steps. I mean, just talking about obviously that the league above, and we call it on our show almost like the Premier Northern League. In a couple of years' time, it's just going to be literally from top to bottom, not full of Northern League sides that hope and stay there. I mean, we've seen some teams go up and some teams struggling financial, but I imagine Steve and the club has got a lot of things in place to make sure if they do go up, there's enough funds there for travel and enough funds for this and that, and it's all done sensibly. I mean, it'll be great to see the club go up because, as you say, there's not going to be too much trouble because the amount of Northern League sides that's going there. So it's going to be a great league if you do manage to get up, isn't it?
Yeah. I think like you've hit the nail on the head there. I think there could potentially be 5, 6, 7 northeast-based teams in there next season, which helps massively. But I trust the likes of Steve, and the powers that be at the club and the hierarchy. They're not going to leave the club out on a limb. I think that's one thing we've always been. We've always been a fairly sensible club when it comes to safeguarding, protecting our future. I can't imagine we'd ever spend beyond our means. Look at Marseille United. You know what I mean? I mean, that's an absolute, say, a disgrace what's happened there. But some of the figures you hear bandied around, I mean, it was inevitable, wasn't it? What was going to happen to them? You've got to be sensible. But what we have on our sort of positive on our side is we have Heritage Park as a ground, which should be pretty much geared up for the next 2 levels anyway, without having to do much work to it.
Exactly.
We've always had a decent support base. Sort of win, lose, and draw. Win, lose, or draw. We've always had sort of core of 250, 300 fans. That's sort of we're averaging 400 now, and it'll be above 400 by the end of the season. So we've always got that strong core support. So, you know, if you're talking about infrastructure, we've pretty much got everything you need to make the move up. No doubt about that. If it means consolidating in the league above, you know, I think get up next season, make sure you stay there first and foremost. But I think with this team and with the management team, I'd be very surprised if we struggle on the pitch next season, you know, if we go up. So, yeah, I'd expect us to make a good fist of it next season.
You know, a very, very strong side in that league. And finally, just got to ask you, do you think you can do it? Are you going to win the league?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent.
And I'm happy to fall back on that, because if we do it, it'll be a shock if we don't now. Well, that's how confident I am in the management team and the team of players we've got. I just think there's too much quality in this team to not go on to win it. Yeah, please don't let me down.
5 weeks ago, said that we're going to win it as well. Like, so I'm there with you, going for the title. I really hope you do. Like you say, a fantastic club. Like you say, like yourself, volunteers, fantastic as well, and Steve, the job that he does. It's a great club that deserves a lot more success and hopefully go up that league as well. Well, Gav, thank you very much for coming on. Right, absolute pleasure having you on.
No props. Like I say, we've been in the doldrums for a while, so it's long awaited. So we may as well enjoy this, being top of the league as much as we can.
Oh, 100%. Nice part at the end of the season.
Nice. Yeah. No, thanks for having me, mate.
Excellent. But no, again, everyone that's been watching, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support as always. Like I said, please get across the social media side of things with Bishop Auckland, like, follow, and subscribe to their channel as well. And please subscribe to the North East Non-League Show and keep updated on our Facebook group as well. Back next week with a couple more shows. I know we're down the hook tomorrow night for Bolton versus FC Heart. It'd be cool if anyone down there tomorrow night for that game as well. But yeah, keep coming back next week. Plenty more shows throughout the month as well. Fully booked up as always. So keep watching the channel for more on the channel as well. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night as well.